Alrighty, we're going to call the meeting back to order again. And thank you again, Daryl, for a phenomenal presentation. That was wonderful. Our NaCCRA former secretary and our president-elect, NaCCRA, will talk to the minutes of our last October 19, or 2013 meeting.
Friends, the minutes of that meeting have been developed, have been circulated to the Board of Directors, have been improved by the Board of Directors, and have been approved by the Board of Directors. It is our practice at the annual meeting to express our faith in the diligence of the Board of Directors by approving the minutes as they have approved them. So is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
You get that? It was moved by Jack. Coming and seconded by Walt Boyer, that they be approved. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. And Joe Walton, are you prepared to just talk to the treasurer's report?
My speech professor at college always reminded me, be brief, be bright, and be gone. And I'll try to achieve that objective. Very, very quickly, I want to talk about the state of NaCCRA's fiscal health, our sources of income, how we're spending the money, and the challenges are ahead. All of this data has been presented to the board. The data comes to us from independent auditors, Langen and Associates, and if any of the members of this audience would like a copy of the financial report, it's available to you. Just contact me at this meeting, or if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. But just for the moment, our fiscal health is good in terms of being solvent. Our liabilities and net assets are plus $33,800 some dollars. Over the last 3 years, we've been able to sustain a net operating income. Although we did make a change this year in the reporting, at one time we were counting as income in the year received the dues from lifetime members. And we've changed that to now extend that over 10 years. So if you pay $150 for a lifetime membership, only $15 is taken in as income in the first year. And then the other change we made is that some of the donation income that we have is restricted, and we've altered our report to reflect that. Where does the money come from? Well, 65% of it is dues, and most of that comes from individual memberships. About a third of our income has come from donations, and the rest comes from income from miscellaneous sources like meetings and interest earned. Where does the money go? Well, 35% goes to administrative support. And a couple of years ago, we retained partners in association management to handle all of the collection of revenue and handle disbursements. Combine those functions. Association and management is an award-winning company in the field of helping associations manage their business, and he brings a lot of that firm brings a lot of expertise to the table, and not only in terms of administering income and expenses, but also in the area of marketing. Another 30% goes to member services such as Lifeline and the expenses associated with that. 25% covers officer travel, but I should remind you that many of those officers donate their travel costs. They pick it up out of their own pockets, all or in part. And some of the coverage for travel expenses comes from providers and from state and local communities. The rest of the money goes to for supplies and telephone and the expense of handling meetings. So that's kind of an overall picture of where we're at. We did increase our dues effective March 1. Actually, they're not a dues increase, they're inflation adjustment. NaCCRA has never changed it from its inception. It kept the same dues, did not change them. Individual membership annually was $15 at the start of the organization years ago. And we finally changed it effective March 1. And on an inflation-adjusted basis, the $15 is now $20. So we've addressed that important need. So, you know, pretty good situation, but we have some challenges ahead. We need to continue to grow revenue to better serve you. And we're looking at various ways of accomplishing that new sources of revenue. Example would be advertising and the Lifeline, and partnering with other organizations that share the interests that we have for mutual benefit. Again, if you have any questions, catch up with me later on. If you want a copy of my report, I'm happy to provide it. Thank you very much.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Do you accept the checks for life membership at this meeting?
Yes, we do. Yes, indeed.
Repeat the question for me.
Okay. The question is, do we accept checks at this meeting for life membership? Yes, we do. Do we accept checks at this meeting for annual memberships? Yes, we do. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Bob.
And so the treasurer's report will be filed, and we thank you so much, Joe. Vice President for membership is a member of the cheering squad, and if you will know, Reverend Bob is a great spokesman for NaCCRA and the advantages to belonging. He lives at La Jolla Place in Seattle, Washington. He's worked tirelessly, and that's the understatement of the year, to increase our membership throughout the United States. And as I had noted before, there are some 2,000 CCRCs throughout the country, and Bob is determined to sell our superior product to the residents in every single one of those communities. Bob will also speak to the membership pilot program that has just gotten underway, and it was instituted the 1st of January of this year. I would note to you that Partners in Association Management, which is located in Tallahassee, Florida, and we mentioned that before, is working very closely with the NaCCRA board members to develop the mechanics and the administrative support for this pilot program. Bob, the membership update, if you please, and he will also speak to the pilot program so that you will see. And so Ruth Waller, you're up again. Okay, for the lights, if you please. And this is Bob Nicholson, Reverend Bob, from Seattle, Washington.
Ordinarily, when the lights go down, we say, "Let us pray." And I'll tell you, I've prayed a lot about this. Ruth is an understatement. Ruth's comment is an understatement. The challenge is we have about 1,200 members, maybe 1,300, and our potential, the vision is we have 600,000 residents in CCRCs. So all we need to do is reach the other 590,000 residents in those 1,900 CCRCs she mentioned. And she said, Bob will be working on that, and Bob has no budget, but he's going to do it. So I've had a lot of challenges, but this is the biggest one of my life. And if I didn't have a sense of humor, I would have perished long ago. In fact, the doctor told me that you can die of terminal seriousness. I want to start off before I hit this button, and I hope the button works, because I'm one of the generation that has just learned to use a computer, and this is the first PowerPoint I've ever done, and this is a different computer, and it may all go down in flames, so just be patient. I thought of your wonderful speech, and I said, what a strong endorsement for the mission of what we're trying to do. You deal in finances. How much do you charge an hour?
Don't ask.
Well, I mean, okay, how many here have a lawyer? Anybody here have a lawyer? How many here have a financial planner? All right? You play that lawyer at least $350 an hour, and the financial planner about the same, not that much, but 1%, 1.5% of your income. We're talking here about doing what we need to do on the cheap. That's why Joe Walton needs to hear from everybody in the room before you leave with a check to become a life member. We're working on a bare bones budget where they expect me to do all this membership stuff with no money. Come on, folks. You can do it. Last week, this is apropos of your speech, which I fell asleep in the middle of and had to be awakened. It was just so scintillating. But I sobered up in time for the IRS 990. Last week, I got a call out of the blue, and it was a daughter who, with her brother, had moved their parents from Massachusetts to a CCRC in Seattle. And she said, in one of the CCRCs, I met somebody, and they said, you need to talk to Bob Nicholson about what NaCCRA is. Because this woman had done her due diligence with her brother, going around to these CCRCs, doing just what you said. If I can't understand it, I'm out the door. She had read stuff on NaCCRA. She had read our website. And she said, what you're doing is so important. My brother and I, right now, want to become life members. Children of potential now residents in a CCRC. I don't have people coming into my door giving me 2 life memberships, taking the initiative. I'm out usually scratching at the door, doing this instead of saying thank you. But the point that was so poignant is that the way they did their due diligence, and so I wrote up the article. I wrote it up as an interview and sent it to Marlene. It'll be in the next Lifeline. So we're now going to try this technological wonder called a PowerPoint. And
Brian's back there if you need it.
all right, Brian, are you ready? The first thing to note, and because I'm not that stable or bright, I have put everything I'm going to say in each of your packets. One of the changes in the industry, and this is a page out of the mission statement of Leading Age, which represents about 9,000 of the institutions that you had on your list of continuing care, assisted living, memory care, skilled nursing. One of the statements that they have made, and you have this in writing in your packet, is, I've got to see the light, is that they want to create mechanisms that will facilitate residents' ability to hear, or will facilitate providers' ability to hear, understand, and accommodate consumers' emerging and changing needs, and develop mechanisms by which the expectations of the consumers, that is residents, may be heard and related to. That is a seismic shift from the bad old days of that's okay, Mother, we'll take care of you. Don't worry about the balance sheet or the finances or what's going on. You need to know that as you deal with providers in your area. Here is our mission statement, that we collaborate nationwide with residents and prospective residents and allied organizations for promoting, protecting, and improving the CCRC lifestyle. We have these annual meetings, one in the spring, I think this is spring, and one in the fall in connection with Leading Age, which will be October 1922 or something in Nashville, Tennessee. Here are some things that we've been doing, supporting residents at the Glebe. We are preparing a consumer guide for prospective residents. Walt will talk about a model CCRC, or Dan will talk about a model CCRC Bill of Rights. And Walt, hit backwards. Walt, there it is. One of the most important things we're doing, or what Walt Boyer and his Financial Soundness Committee are doing in dealing with the contracts that you enter into. And we do continue to monitor, to visit, to promote, and especially to provide cross-fertilization of ideas. And I could take the rest of the morning to tell you about what the CCRC in Seattle learned from a CCRC, from the New Jersey Association, or NaCCRA, or what went on in Massachusetts impacted what went on in Oregon. It is important that we have a strong, vital communicating network. So that is one of the reasons that Joe Walton will be there to receive your life memberships as you go. One of the strengths of NaCCRA is the way Marlene keeps us all together in Lifeline, and how Jack Cummings does such a marvelous job with our NaCCRA U, and that continues to be a blessing. Now here's the slide which Walt Boyer provided, and I promised him I would say this is a wonderful thing he's doing, and he will tell you about it. Standard contract provisions, model standards for, and that's all material that I stole from him, and he will talk about that. And that's the end of that song. Bring the lights up so I can see my notes.
Yeah, Ruth.
What?
No, that other Ruth, Ruth W.
Okay, Ruth W.
This is for the lights.
We have provided for you a personally autographed letter from the new president of NaCCRA, Dan Seeger, and it's in your packet. It is a part of a project outreach, or outreach project, or reach out project, one of those words. And it's an attempt to do at no budget, because Joe Walton is such a hard nose. He requires that I recruit so many members that pay in advance to justify my travel from Seattle, and it's a very burdensome requirement, but I keep doing it and he keeps smiling. We're doing this, again, with no budget, and the idea is, in the Reach Out Project, is that everyone in the room, and this is in your packet, will take personal responsibility to reach out to persons in your community and persons in other communities in other parts of the nation. And there are 4 documents there, and they are all available to you, and with one email to one address at NaCCRA in Tallahassee, a button, you'll get all 4 documents, and you can print them out and use them to support your efforts to extend the personal invitation signed by Dan Seeger, defining what is NaCCRA, what do we do, and why is it important that they be a part of it. This is the absolute low budget proposal. There's also in there a membership invitation that is easier to use than tearing Marlene's Lifeline up or tearing up the little folder you have in your folders. one of the essential ingredients, and we put this in every one of your folders, is people, we don't have an electronic way to join NaCCRA, so the next best way is to provide a self-addressed envelope, and you think that's a small thing. Some people will move if you give them the self-addressed envelope and say, put your check in here, and put a stamp on it. We don't have money for stamps. Or give it to me and I'll mail it. So you have a sheet there that you can use and put it on the copy machine table and go to Staples or Office Max or Office Depot and buy some Avery labels and punch a button, and you'll have all these adhesive labels just like the adhesive label on your envelope. And for those of you who are financially strapped, you can do like I do, and you go to Goodwill or the Salvation Army or St. Vinny's and you buy the envelopes there. I got 100 for 39 cents. That's where your envelopes came from. So this, you're talking about a low membership budget, you can do it, but it's there for you to do. Now, I'm from the none zone, that's N-O-N-E. That is where there are none NaCCRA members. I've traveled at my own expense to Oregon and well, Washington, where I live, Texas, New Mexico, Missouri, and you can't believe this, but now we have 2 NaCCRA members in New Mexico. We have 5 in Texas. I have failed in Missouri, but we have 15 or 20 in Oregon and 70 or 80 in Washington State, up from 0. We doubled our membership in the last couple of years. But it's all due to volunteer efforts, people talking to people, networking, as I'm proposing that you do. But a part of our outreach to the none zone is the partners is working with us, and they have a model project in which it has 2 components that will be active in the year 2014. One is to reach out to 15 communities. Looks like Adam said to Eve, there must be another leaf here somewhere. Tacky, that's tacky. Reaching out to 15 communities where there are 25 NaCCRA members or less, or more, and engaging those communities in a membership outreach program, supporting them in that effort. Principally where we need growth. Secondly, to reach out to 15 communities where we have no NaCCRA members and to try to identify a key resident to do some of this membership outreach. The problem is that there is no directory of resident leaders. You have to go through either the executive director or marketing. And when you do that, not every provider is thrilled with the idea of organizing residents. You might get the humor in that. But sometimes, if you kind of lay it on a little about, we work closely with Leading Age, and we're at their meeting with a display and a booth and a seminar. You get in, but it's really very hard work to be in touch with resident leaders, particularly in the none zone. But that's what we're working at, 15 communities where there are no members and trying to build in 15 communities where we have 25 members or less. So that takes up my time. And did I mention that we're trying to operate on a shoestring budget and that we need everybody's support? There's actually, for those of you who don't know, at the bottom here it says, and I want to add an additional gift to support the important work of NaCCRA. It's okay to give. Giving begets giving. So this is both a paid commercial message for Joe Walton and an invitation for you to look in your packet, look at the 4 documents that you can have anyone get over the email to print out and use in your communities. Thank you very much.
Yes.
We're a 501c3.
Yes, we are indeed a 501c3 organization, which means your membership dues, as well as any donations that you make, are tax deductible on your income tax. So, and you know, the more donations you make, the better it is for you and also for us. So please, at this time, when they're about 3 or 4 days before income taxes are due to their government and to our states, just be generous, and we thank you so much. And Stone Ridge, I got to tell you, Stone Ridge and Deerfield in North Carolina, and there's carpenters down in Florida have great numbers of residents who belong to NaCCRA, and we thank you so much. And I know Florida has a phenomenal number of people. How many, John, how many, just for openers, how many people are in, how many, I'm trying to get out the numbers of people who are NaCCRA members, in addition to FLAGRA members? 326, it's a good number, whatever it is. That's great. You want to be us. We have a problem.
Always a problem.
Always a problem. But we're going to try to do this. We have about 20 minutes until it's time to break for lunch. And so, well, I can do that. Well, are you prepared to talk to your group, to your committee?
Ruth, you have asked me to put them all to sleep and give them a nap tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Why don't I defer till tomorrow morning?
All right. Yes, Walt's going to do a PowerPoint tomorrow and talk about model laws and legislation, and I think that will be very good. Thank you. For committee reports, you've been very busy with establishing committees. There's task forces and what have you. But one of the important committees that we came up with when I took office, I could see that the bylaws that were established for NaCCRA were established back in about 2002, and they needed to be updated and revised. And so I asked Jack Cumming if he would become bylaws chair, and just to take a look at what we had and how we can amend them to become as more action-oriented as we are. So Jack, could you just speak briefly to the bylaws?
I'm sure the bylaws is your favorite subject. And, if you've ever been involved with the creation of bylaws, you know this is a matter of considerable controversy. We had a bylaws committee comprised of Charlie Polk, Marlene Varner, who you've met, Mariana Caldwell, who's sitting in the back, and myself. We put together a set of bylaws, and they were discussed at a series of teleconferences in January 2013, provision by provision, rewritten on the fly, as bylaws tend to be. If you open them up to be reviewed provision by provision, you can consult that entire process and the resulting bylaws on NaCCRA U under the news category. It's all there for anybody who has the interest in such things. I don't, but maybe you do, and you're welcome to go there if you want. But I can assure you that we've had some benefit from the process, and the biggest benefit we've had is in the nominations this year, which you're going to hear from the nominating committee at some point. But they've brought forward people who are chosen for qualifications, and that is a highly desirable development, and I think you'll be very impressed with the new proposals. And if you have any more interest in the bylaws, it's all there on NaCCRA U.
And it's very important, and Jack is going to speak to what I call NaCCRA U 101, because there is such a plethora of information, and unless you know what's in there, and he will show you, I think tomorrow's due, to the excellence of this NaCCRA U, which Jack has put together and he keeps updated. So Thank you so much, Jack. And yes, the bylaws are in motion. And at this point, Milt, are you ready to just give a very brief report where I lost him? There he is. Milt Birdsall, who's chairman of the nominating committee. And the nominating committee consisted of the presidents of the state associations. And Milt is one of those wonderful people who worked most diligently in this. So, Milt.
I want to make a comment before I start on my prepared material here on that last presentation. It was damn good. First of all. Second of all, I have to write columns quarterly for the Florida area. And I've been getting some stupid feedback, one from a friend who says that he feels when we solicit membership for NaCCRA, that it worsens our opportunities to get flight members. And
To get what?
members sell memberships to flight. They figure if they got a NaCCRA membership, they don't need a flight membership. Dumb statement. But you get that passing around like it is doing right now. And so I intend to dedicate my next article to the stupidity of that act. So I support you entirely. Okay, I'm not sure where I am right now. I got so upset by that. Okay, first of all, I wanted to identify the nominating committee. They were Crane Miller, Jonas Rappaport, Joseph Walton, and Walton T. Boyer. Did excellent jobs. We got a slew of nominations. Most of, I think it was approximately 99% said no. But we ended up with an extremely strong group of nominees. And I want to review their records with you right now. There were three vacancies on the board, and so we had to get 3 people. And we were trying to select people that had the qualifications that were lacking on the board. And so it was more of a selection than an election. But the first one I want to describe to you is Jean Hurley from Virginia. She learned about NaCCRA and BACRA in 2009 by reviewing the 2002 minutes of the President's Council at Westminster, Canterbury on Chesapeake Bay. She attended the Lake Ridge NaCCRA BACRA meeting in April 2009 and began actively promoting membership in these 2 organizations. She started right away. She attended the Bridgeport, West Virginia NaCCRA meeting in April 2010 and the OSSA convention in NaCCRA meeting in November 2010. She continued to promote both individual and community memberships in both organizations. As president of BACRA, Jean attended the NaCCRA meeting at Lake Ridge in 2012, the Leading Age Convention and NaCCRA meeting in Denver in 2012, and then NaCCRA meeting in Dallas in October 2013. Jean has participated actively in email discussions with the NaCCRA bylaws were being revised in 2012 and discussion of the issues proposed by that committee on model law. She has done a wonderful job, and if you haven't met her, I don't know why, because she has been circulating, talking to everybody, and talking about some of the problems that she sees in some of the laws with regard to CCRCs. She's right over here in the back. Would you please stand? Thank you. The next candidate was Peter T. Straw for Virginia. Born in St. Louis, Missouri in March 1939, Peter graduated Washington and Lee University and Law School in Lexington. Virginia, and with BA in 1961 and LLB in 1964. Among Peter's many accomplishments, he was a U.S. Army captain from 1964 to 72, Evans and Dixon Law Firm, St. Louis from 66 to 68, Assistant Public Defender, St. Louis County, 1968 to 1969. Special Litigation Section, Department of Justice, 1971 to 72. Attorney Advisor, Deputy Attorney General, 1972. Minor Counsel, U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Judiciary. Special Assistant to Attorney General, Director, Office of Criminal Justice, Department of Justice, 1973 and 74. Private practice in Alexandria, Virginia, 1976 to 2009 when he retired. Past professional memberships include the U.S. Supreme Court and various other courts, including U.S. Bankruptcy Court. He has an excellent law background, obviously. Peter, would you please stand?
He's not here.
He's not here,
He has an appointment in Virginia yet to do.
but we welcome him to the board also. Third is John Paul Dowsimer, right over here. John, would you stand? And is 76 years old and has lived in John Knox Village in Pompano Beach, Florida for 9 years. He has been on when was chair of the John Knox Village Resident Council, Fiscal Committee, and Long Range Planning Committee, as well as a couple of other committees. He has been on the JKV Foundation Board of Directors and is currently president. He is a life member of NaCCRA and NaCCRA. Has been on the John Knox Village NaCCRA Board for 8 years, served on the Florida State NaCCRA Board for 6 years and was president for 2 years. He worked as a CPA with a national CPA firm, was president of a medical publishing company and a textile company. He has served on the board of directors of 7 not-for-profit organizations, has been published and has published in several articles and 1 book on not-for-profit subjects related to accounting and management. He has a strong CPA background. He will be an excellent addition also to the board. Thanks a lot, Bill. This is an excellent group. These 3 people, there's no doubt in my mind and others I've talked to that they will make a great addition to that board of directors. Thank you.
And about immediately after lunch, we will have an election of those NaCCRA members who are present to elect our 3 new members of the Board of Directors of the National Association. There are, in addition to other committees, we have 3 task forces that are in motion. And it's still in the formative stage as we are working to supply answers to lots of very heavy questions. So I ask you to stay tuned as the year progresses, and Walt's going to speak to his tomorrow morning when he's going to do a power presentation for us. And Joe Walton, do you want to say anything more about the organizational strategy?
I think that's going to be unfolding later on today and tomorrow. The board is hard at work on the strategic plan, components of that plan you'll be hearing about. We're moving forward in the interest of time. We'll leave it at that, and if I can come back to, if there's a need, I can come back and address that tomorrow.
Very good. Thank you so much. And the last task force is a Bill of Rights task force, and Dan Seeger is chairman of that committee. So I'm going to ask Dan if he would come forward, or do you want to?
Ruth, I can weave that into my remarks at lunchtime. If
All right, that'll be perfect.
Right.
Thank you. That'll work. But the very special person I would like for you to meet and greet is Marlene Varner, who is our communications director, and she's from Deerfield Community in North Carolina. She, in addition to being the editor of Lifeline, is a vision and organization and skill as she works from deadline to deadline. Not only that, but she has phenomenal knowledge of CCRCs, having been a resident at the Carpenters in Lakeland, Florida, and now living at Deerfield in North Carolina. If anybody wants to know anything, you only need to ask Marlene, because if she doesn't know it, she'll find the answer to you. She's a real wonder lady. Close communication with Partners in Management, which is down in Tallahassee, to ensure that our mailing lists are current and the notices for needs for renewal are distributed. I thank her over and over again for her dedication to this, and I know she has a couple of assistants now to help her, because you don't need one person, and I do believe you're also chairman of the Deerfield Residents Association. Past, but you're busy lady. And she is the lifeline for NaCCRA. Without her expertise, we would not be where we are, and we thank you so much. So, Marlene.
Thank you, Ruth. That was very kind and generous. In its various iterations, Lifeline has essentially had just two editors. Charlie Polk and I have both done it for rather long stints, with a few short term services in between. We have developed the format and tried to devise means of keeping our NaCCRA members and prospects informed of trends in CCRC communities. Often this has taken the form of sharing information from state and local newsletters. In our newest initiative, Ask and Share by Jennifer Young of Meadow Lake, Texas, residents are encouraged to share practices in specific areas of community life. The issue dealing with the procedures for development of employee appreciation funds listed a variety view of how these funds are handled, revealing an array of approaches to the disbursement of the funds. It has been very gratifying to hear the resultant buzz among our residents about the issues that surfaced in that particular exchange. There has been a modest increase in the letters to the editor, another vehicle for resident involvement. A particular recent note was the letter about the issue of observation versus admission to the hospital and the impact on eligibility for Medicare. Because of geography and the nature of the work, the newsletter has often relied significantly on the individual editor's dedication of time and commitment. The time pressures of producing 6 issues a year have not led to the development of as much collaboration as would be desirable. One recent change has brought a significant quality improvement to our production, and that is the establishment of a proofreading team. We are deeply indebted to these individuals who cheerfully get on it right away when forwarded our latest copy for proofing. Our thanks go to Valerie Cumming, Carlsbad by the Sea, Tom Hughes, Deerfield Episcopal Retirement Community in North Carolina, and Jennifer Young of Meadow Lake in Texas. They deserve our very special appreciation, and I assure you it will be forthcoming in our next issue. As I approach the completion of 5 years as your editor and the production of 60 issues, the time has come to look towards some changes. A fresh look and new approaches can breathe new life into any endeavor. I invite your careful consideration of changes that can improve this aspect of our work and outreach. For example, should we continue to produce 6 issues a year, or would 4 or 5 still serve our purpose? We need to be seeking new leadership, and perhaps the addition of 2 associate editors might help us move in that direction. It seems to me it's a very nice opportunity for those people who were approached about board service and said, I'm really interested in the mission, I'd really like to serve NaCCRA, but I just don't travel anymore. This is a job you can do at home. So I think we need to be looking in that direction as soon as possible. In the meantime, we want to involve as many writers and reporters as possible. Please keep us posted on address changes within your unit when somebody moves from independent living to assisted living or skilled nursing. If their apartment address changes or whatever, please let us know. It also helps us to know when our members pass on so that we don't continue to mail a newsletter when there's no one there to receive it. We also are going to be giving careful attention to the number of additional copies needed by board members for recruitment purposes. And many people find it very helpful to have some extra copies of Lifeline to use in recruiting new members. And I'm delighted to let you know that there's quite an ample supply outside the table next to the registration table. So please feel free to take some of those home and encourage your friends and neighbors to join if they have not already done so. And again, I hope that our new board will be looking very carefully at the issue of editor succession. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marlene. And I just must add right here that she recently passed an IRS testing protocol and has been certified as an AARP tax consultant and tax aid consultant. I know that you're in the throes of finishing off the next couple days before the 15th of April. So I thank you for doing that double duty and also for being with us and for all your work with Lifeline. Truly, you are a wonderful lady and I thank you so much. We are going to break for luncheon. There have been several requests for several of the presentations to be, could I get a copy of it? And the best I can tell you at this point is that the NaCCRA will have the entire meeting on tape, and I'm sure that some of those presentations, and I don't know how we work out getting copies of somebody's speech or something of that sort, but we'll work that out because I know there's some really pertinent information. And Jack Matheson attended, he's our immediate past resident, and is fortunate in that he lives in Washington, D.C., so he's close at hand to many of the Leading Age activities, and each March, Leading Age conducts what they call the Peak Summit Conference. And Jack was there today, and can you just speak briefly to that conference?
As Ruth has indicated, Leadership Age, of course, headquartered in D.C. on Connecticut Avenue, capitalize on utilizing the facilities of the Marriott Wardman Park Hotel just 2 blocks north, where they hold their Peak Summit. I've been attending them regularly over the past few years, and this particular year there were 7 NaCCRA members, 5 from Thomas Circle and 2 from Knollwood, and I was quite pleased when Dr. Cheryl Phillips, you may know that name, it was just 2 years ago that Leading Age employed their first geriatric physician. And Dr. Cheryl Phillips gave the major address at the assembly meeting of the Peak Summit. And in doing so, she chose the occasion to recognize the 2 NaCCRA members from Knollwood and had them come forward and stand before the 1,000 people in that assembly. And it's probably one of the best public relations moves we've had in some time in the DC area. And I'd like to share with you just briefly how Peak Summit functions when they meet. Dr. Cheryl Phillips used the occasion to preparing everyone in attendance, and by the way, in tables similar to what we have here, people gather together by state. Some tables, some states require more than 1 table, but out of 1,000 people, you have people gathered by state. she makes a principal address in preparation for sending all of those people to Capitol Hill for 6 hours of calling on United States senators and United States representatives. And let me just give you a sampling of what she was asking them to do. Medicare and Medicaid, fix the problem in Medicare, co-sponsor House Bill 1179, Senate Bill 569, repeal Medicare therapy caps and replace with medical review process as under Senate Bill 1871. No more across-the-board Medicare cuts for skilled nursing facilities, home health care, or hospice. No reductions in federal Medicaid funding to the states. Now that's the message she gave to those 1,000 people to go to Capitol Hill and consult their respective senators and representatives. And she went on to review some 7 pieces of legislation that she wanted them to give attention to. And to me, that sends a significant message to NaCCRA. We're sensitive about so-called involvement in politics, but leading age is the one we can be thankful for taking the initiative and sending their representatives to Capitol Hill to lobby, yes, the word lobby, the congressmen, in hopes that they can achieve what will really benefit NaCCRA members and residents of life care retirement centers. One other instance by way of illustration, under the not-for-profit difference, she called for preserving tax-exempt status for not-for-profit aging service providers and the income tax deduction for charitable donations by taxpayers at all income levels. Protect and stimulate investment in the low-income housing tax credit. And then there were 5 additional pieces of legislation that were given attention. But this is just a sampling of what you can experience when you attend the fall meetings at Peak Summit. Thank you, Ruth.
Was registration waived? Jack, was registration waived for residents?
Registration is waived for all NaCCRA members. That's a $155 registration fee waived for all NaCCRA members.
Thanks. Oh, thank you so much. And our time, we're doing well time-wise, but we're going to bring the meeting back to order. And Milt Birdsall, you heard this morning before we had lunch, the chairman of the nominating committee, gave a report of the nominating committee and described for us in our newly amended bylaws the process we have gone through. So at this point, the board of directors has put in a nomination for 3 individuals for the nomination for following members to the NaCCRA board of directors. Peter Straub, resident of Green Spring Village in Smithfield, Virginia, who cannot be with us today. Then number 2 is Jean Hurley, if you'll just stand a minute, Jean, who's a resident of Westminster, Canterbury on Chesapeake Bay in Virginia. And so she is the second candidate. And the third one is John Paul Dulcimer, Florida, and a resident of John Knox Village in Pompano Beach, Florida. Is there any question that anyone has of our 3 candidates? Seeing none, all in favor of the nomination of Peter Straub from Virginia, Jean Hurley from Virginia, and John Dulcimer from Florida. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So these candidates are now duly elected members of NaCCRA Board of Directors. and they're going to take office at the conclusion of the annual meeting. And congratulations to you all. We also note to you that Charlie Polk, who is a past president, and I always call him a founder as well, and also our unofficial executive director, had chosen to go off of the board of directors. Jack Matheson is in his position as a past president, will also go off the board of directors. And I will go on the board as an unofficial or ex officio immediate past president of NaCCRA. So all three of us have been very privileged to serve the NaCCRA, and we're so proud of the things that are happening and the things that will be happening under our new leadership. So we're going to keep track of you all on our progress and our growth through the years. And I just would congratulations to you all, and to congratulate us all for our NaCCRA. And thank you so much for being here today to help us out with this. So I applaud you all.